Mourners in Scotland are paying their final respects to Queen Elizabeth II. They waited through the night to file past her coffin in complete silence. A long line of mourners waited outside of St. Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh. Later today, the Queen's Castle was taken to London, and people there are already forming lines to pay their respects. The funeral is scheduled for Monday at Westminster Abbey. We go now to Edinburgh, and Philip Crowther, international affiliate correspondent for the Associated Press. Philip, great to see you again. It looked like some very long lines of mourners waiting to pay their respects to the Queen. Can you tell us what is the mood right now?
And also from Northern. And some of those were very disappointed when they noticed that they were not going to be able to see Queen Elizabeth II's casket inside St. Giles's Cathedral here in Edinburgh. It was a 24-hour vigil that was being held here in the Scottish capital. 24 hours during which people were queuing during the day and during the night to get an opportunity to pay their final respects to the Queen. Some were not lucky and were not able to get into the cathedral in the end. We are expecting similar scenes in London, by the way, even longer lines there to get into Westminster Hall inside the Houses of Parliament. It's been an emotional, a very sober as well, few days here in Scotland. You know, this was never supposed to be this way. The simple fact that the Queen died at her Balmoral estate here in Scotland meant that these first few days of these events that have been planned in the aftermath of her death took place here in Edinburgh, partly, but also in the Highlands where Balmoral Castle is located. Right behind me is the Palace of Holyrood House. This is the official residence of the British royal family here, and this is also where Queen Elizabeth II's casket was left overnight, the first of two nights that it was here in the Scottish capital. A very appropriate opportunity for the Scottish people to say goodbye to their Queen, a Queen who was very, very fond of Scotland herself.
And Philip, we know that King Charles III took part in a vigil in Edinburgh before traveling to another part of the United Kingdom. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I was almost going to say this is traditional, but of course there aren't new kings or queens that often, are there? It's been 70 years of the reign of Queen Elizabeth II. But something that a new king is expected to do, well, that's exactly what King Charles III is doing right now. He is visiting all the capitals that make up the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. That explains his visit to Belfast today. He would have visited Edinburgh anyway, and he will also be going to Cardiff, the capital of Wales. In all of these capitals, he receives the condolences of the people in the street. He goes up to people, shakes their hands, receives flowers in some cases, but also receives the condolences of, for example, the Scottish Parliament here yesterday. These are very hard days, of course, for the new king. He has to get used to this new role, a role from which a lot of people expect a lot. And of course, he's doing this at the very same time that he is mourning the death of his mother.
Very tough indeed. And Philip, before I let you go, what is the schedule for the next few days? What can you tell us about that?
Well, the Queen's casket has now arrived back in London at Buckingham Palace. It is tomorrow when her lying in state will begin. This will be in Westminster Hall, the oldest part in the Houses of Parliament in central London. And this is where the people of the United Kingdom will get the possibility to again pay their respects inside and see the casket of Queen Elizabeth II. It will be a 4-day-long lying in state period for the Queen. This will be before the state funeral, of course, which is now being held on Monday. And that is when we expect so many world leaders and dignitaries, so many members of royal families from around the world to head to London and to be part of the first state funeral that has taken place in the United Kingdom since the death of former Prime Minister Winston Churchill. It's a very long process, of course, but it was always going to be that that way. And what is particularly interesting and maybe moving also about what we've seen here over the last few days is that at the age of 96, Queen Elizabeth II died at the age of 96. This was something that was to be expected. Of course, it was inevitable. But still, there is this feeling of shock that you feel among the people here who came to Edinburgh, for example, to see the casket pass them by, to see the new king walk behind that casket. There is still that feeling of shock, despite the fact that this was something that was rather predictable. There are very few people in the United Kingdom who have experienced a monarch who is not Elizabeth II. She reigned for 70 years.
Now, Philip Crowther, international affiliate correspondent for the Associated Press. Thank you so much, Philip.